So, what is your excuse for not calling your mother? She has dementia and has forgotten how to use the phone. Unless an aide is in the room when I call, the phone will just ring and drive her crazy. I visit her in person instead, even though sometimes she doesn't know who I am. Last time I saw her, she yelled at me to go live with my dad, and when I actually started packing my things and leaving, she yelled, "You don't want to take care of your own mother," and proceeded to beat me and call the cops, saying I'm the one who hit her, even though I had cuts, marks, and bruises all over my face and neck. She never got in trouble, and she did all this in front of my 3-year-old sister. She also told me I would be dead if I ever came back. We haven't spoke since, and I don't plan to ever speak to her again. Phones work 2 ways. I call a few times a year. She never has. I have asked her to come visit. She does not ask me to come up. I have visited her. She has never visited me. Relationships require both to put effort in. After years of only me putting in time and effort, I have learned that I am not that important to her. She is a soulless human being, addled with terrible personality traits, and is addicted not only to specific drugs, but to being not sober. She is a kleptomaniac and will steal from people who are charitable to her. She's an uncaring mother and an awful person. My sister texted me this morning to say she's been missing for 2 weeks, and I'm not concerned, because that is completely normal for her. She's been addicted to hard drugs for at least 20 years now. I don't see how she's still alive, and I wish she wasn't. She's draining my entire family of love and resources. She was extremely neglectful to me when I was a kid, and now that I'm an adult, she tries to guilt-trip me into seeing her and calling her. She wanted nothing to do with me as a kid/teenager, and now she wants a relationship. Sorry, but I'm not ready yet. Went to her for the first time about being severely depressed and suicidal for the past 10 years of my life. She made it completely about herself. I was crying in fetal position as a 25-year-old man on her bedroom floor. She asked me something, but I was in an almost frozen state and couldn't think of speak. She got pissed off at me and started berating me for not answering when I was the one who went to her. Somehow I've kept her in my life. No, I don't call first, but do not avoid contact. I'm not sure if that's a healthy move. My excuse is having a huge lineup of past events that show me just how selfish she is, despite her words contradicting her actions. Every phone call is 3 hours long, and I do not ever have that much time to myself, let alone for another human. And no, the length of the phone call doesn't decrease if I call more frequently. I tried that. Texting with her was great, but she hated her smartphone, so went back to a clamshell that makes it hard for her to text. She's manipulative and controlling. I wish she was just like any other mom. We would have been a great team. Dad's never around. I just want someone in my family to know me for me. But apparently that's not the case. So I shall keep up the facade. I had to cut ties with her. The one person in the world you should be able to trust to give you good advice is your mother. Instead, my mother gave me advice that suited her needs or aligned with her plans versus what supported my goals. It's a long-winded story that unraveled over a decade as we slowly grew apart, and I confided less in her, but the final straw came about 3 years ago when she refused to come to her only grandchild's wedding. She now calls my brother every week and fake cries about losing her family, totally her fault, and ignores the fact that he's still talking to her. Yup, makes him feel wonderful, not. I'm abroad and it costs a fortune. She gets free international calls, so it's cheaper for her to phone me. Also, she hates WhatsApp. She can't cope with the slight delay you occasionally get, especially as she insists on keeping her router in the pantry where it can't be seen as it looks unsightly. She and my father used my siblings, and I to hurt the other. She chose meth over me. She tried to convince me to move to another state and be a prison guard so that I could help her raise my brother's kid financially. She is just a very conniving and toxic person who I cut out of my life and want nothing to do with. My mother is a narcissist, and I put up with her for 32 years. I broke contact with her more than 1 year ago, and I have not had an anxiety attack since. I have not called suicide prevention since. I have felt better about myself and my family in the past year than my entire life combined. I'm done with her. Answer from someone whose mother is not a horrible person, not dead, and who also doesn't live with her. I don't really know what to talk about. A 30-something man has little in common with a 60-something woman, even if they're blood relatives and come from the same household. Our interests don't overlap at all, and both our lives have become dull enough that we never have exciting news to talk about. I'd love to be closer to my mom, but I don't really know how to connect beyond surface small talk that feels more like a social obligation rather than a conversation. She kinda stopped talking to me 20 years ago, after I told her I was gay. Since then I've leaned it's no big loss. The obsession everyone has about their mothers is actually amusing to me now. Especially those who constantly complain about how their mothers make their lives miserable, and yet they talk to them on the phone every day. She died back in 2010 or 2011. Suicide. She had a lot of mental stuff and a lot of trauma in her life. Still miss her whenever I think of her. I guess I got a mother-in-law and stepmom, but I'm not as close to them. I was raised by my mom until I was 18 to 19. I'm 30 now. Haha, apparently my dad gets jealous and throws fits if I talk to my mom, but not him. So that. Her phone is always on silent, so she hardly ever picks up. Even when she calls and I miss it, so I call her right back, she doesn't answer. She was a meth head, she didn't care, so I don't. She abused my brothers and sisters? Emotional blackmail. Poor me. Come rescue me. Every single time. You know when your parents weren't that great and you decided to move on solo in your life and you reach that stage where you don't really resent them anymore yet at the same time realize you don't really love them either and you don't see the point of having them in your life. I'm at that stage. I don't even have my mom's phone number. We were just out on a walk and calling her while I'm like 10 meters away would probably annoy her. She died 2 years ago. It would be great if I could though. She just asks for money. My brain works on out of sight, out of mind and she's living on a boat in the Gulf right now. She only talks to me to spend time with my daughter. She's a raging lunatic. I call her like 5 times a day. Getting ready to hang out with her now. I'm 29 and very blessed to have my mama as my best friend. She ignores my calls and texts me instead. She's just like me. Upside down face. My mom is drowning in Q. I get a headache talking to her because it always comes up. Also, if she can't do something as basic as getting vaccinated for my kid's sake, then she can't be trusted to respect any of my other rules or wishes. Not worth my time. She died in 2016. Well, she's been dead for 27 years, so. She left when I was 1.5 years old. She died 2 years ago. Before that, she and I talked almost every day, sometimes twice. She was my best friend and I miss her terribly. Going to brag a little, I call my mom often like once or twice a day. The other morning was her birthday and I forgot until after we were off the phone. I texted her apologizing and she replied that she was just happy I called as often as I do, that she wasn't even mad. That made my day. She disowned me because I'm not a religious Trump supporter. I love my mom. But I'm a surgeon who's also capable of managing an airway, a respirator, and an ECMO. We're in the middle of a pandemic and just now got a lot of refugees to take care of as well. So not that much free time. Hopefully it will get better again. She's dead. She's dead. And even before that she was a narcissist. I don't want to talk to her. She is next door in her room while I'm in mine. A lot of physical and emotional abuse. I haven't talked to her in 11 years. Honestly, it doesn't even bother me. My father hit me a while ago and threatened to beat me up a couple of weeks ago. So guess who doesn't talk to his parents? Having dinner with her and my dad tonight. My mom is great. She's a narcissist and I've cut her out of my life. I call her before I stop by, which is almost every day. She's turning 81 next month, so the clock is ticking. She turns every conversion into just her berating me for made-up things I've done that VE wronged her, and expects me to just sit there only affirming her delusions. I told her that had to stop real fast, or she'd stop hearing from me for a long time. Obviously, that warning was just me being unreasonable, ungrateful, etc., so the behavior continued and I cut all contact.